wanted to come live real quick to show you how you can take a simple ingredient such as buttermilk, whole milk. I wouldn't go nothing less than 2%. And you can mix those together, buttermilk, molasses, and some Epsom salt, I believe, for magnesium. But you're gonna get iron out of the molasses. You're gonna get calcium, all of the vitamins in milk. Buttermilk has the calcium and lactobacillus family of bacterias. It's a great bacteria. It works very well. You can do it before the sun comes up, or you can do it as the sun goes down. My strawberries are right at flower mode. These are Fort Laramie strawberries. I noticed that my soil that I just put together last year, which is pretty much made of Pro Mix HP mix and some compost, with some other native soil from when they were transplanted. But I did notice that they were lacking in some magnesium and in some calcium. So I just applied some Dolomite lime to it because it'll help also with some pH fixing. And also what I did was I went ahead and threw some Gaia Green fishbone meal, Gaia Greens 444 all purpose, and also Gaia Green 286, which is their bloom. And I literally put those all together. I'll show you how I mix those. But I did it on a dry day, and I came out and I broadcasted it evenly across the canopy, across the whole coverage area of my strawberries. My strawberries here are literally from my driveway. I have them going up my step and coming up. And they're part of my porch. And I have a whole lot more of gardening things that are getting done at this moment. But the yellowing of the leaves was expected because a lot of energy are going to the fruits at the moment because they're about to put on their flowers, coming straight up. This is the first full day of spring, so it was very important to go ahead and get this garden prepped. But it was a lot of acidity, I believe, that was building up in the soil that may have also been locking out some of those other macro and micronutrients. So went ahead and broadcasted some food on a dry day, which was about 2 days ago. I put some of all of the ingredients I told you, Dolomite lime, which is magnesium and calcium. It's more of a slow release, but I also put magnesium in the form of Epsom salt with some tiny bit of sulfur into my lactobacilli, which is buttermilk or milk mixed with molasses. I'll put the ingredients in the description below, just then I have the video have to focus on outside of that. But pretty much everything's was going very yellow. So she was definitely showing me that she was missing some magnesium or maybe iron deficiencies. She's definitely good on the phosphorus. So I'm seeing that the coloration is now coming back, which is a beautiful sign that they're starting to get that nice limey green, light green color. It was very much lighter than that. And I see the intraveinal chlorosis, which is when it's green in the inside, typically an iron or a magnesium deficiency. So if you see that, molasses is your best friend. They have a lot of manganese and magnesium inside of the molasses. You literally can have that for that. And so going ahead and broadcasting over here across the entire area evenly, not too much like you would if you were to have a nicely pieces salted of an item, not heavy salt, not light salt, but a nice even lighter piece of salt. And I literally took a handful of it and I just throw it across the whole canopy and I let things fall. Again, doing it on a dry day. So that way you're able to go ahead and take full advantage of not having to get any leaf burn or any type of substance sitting on your leaves. And then you rinse off everything after you finish. After I did that, tonight is the grand finale, especially before the flowers start coming. You really don't want to have too much liquids or anything splashing. Once you start seeing the yellows, flowers bloom. So we're in pre-bloom on a lot of them, and we're starting to get into some bloomed flowers, and that's what they look like. And they start off like that. The bees will come, and the next thing you know, you will have strawberries in a short amount of time, preferably about 30 to 45 days. So everything's coming in from pre-bloom to bloom. So you want to go ahead and get your calcium wash up in there, and I just simply use this. It's gonna be broadcast evenly. There's no special fan on it. The nozzle fell off. I still have it. The brass piece. Hudson makes great quality tools, but the brass piece fell off, and I really haven't put it back on there, but it still works very well. So I can always put it back on there. I'm sure with some silicone, crazy glue, but it is fine for me. It does the job. Literally my number one go-to tool. I still have another one in there that I have. I don't know if it's Hudson Company also, but this one is my first one. It has Ralad. Every time you see the bubbles on the inside, that's okay. That is just bacteria that has just been sustained and living and growing. And so this comes out fairly well. You can apply it to the leaf, foliar leaf, which means just feeding it through the leaf, but it will also go into the soil. It's way better in the soil because there it can colonize, but you do want to make sure that your soil base has been moistened with water. If not, then it would only stick to itself, and if the soil is dry, if I was to put this first and then put water, I would pretty much be washing away the bacteria, and then I wouldn't have a place for the bacteria to really settle in and be able to colonize. But since I put the water here, I've been watering for a couple hours on a slow pace. I have a natural watering system that I've adopted. Some people may like it. It may work for some. It depends on your topography and how you use your landscape. But this is just a cool thing about urban farming. You're able to use gravity and a natural slope to be able to find a high point or a high corner and be able to water your garden and not have to actually stand in water. You can literally set it up, and I call it deep seeding water, which means that the water is able to go deep into the root zone without affecting the top part of the leaves. Strawberries don't like their leaves wet too much because of the sunlight. It may burn the leaves, they're very tender. But in the early morning or a cool night like now, it's a great time to apply this. So I'm gonna stop going ahead and talking. I believe that gave you a full wrap up. And then you're gonna just see me go ahead and give a quick watering so you can get an idea of how this works. And pretty much what this does, I'm gonna pump here a little more. Oops. Splashing some on this side. This is my Fort Laramie strawberry row, and I have some other strawberries that I have, some that were ever bearing on the other side, and I have some other strawberries that I just found locally inside of my garden. So I kind of removed them from the wild grassy area they were in and made an area for them. And so I'm just putting this here. Some areas. Not really a piece here. So I took this off. That's what was causing the splash, I believe. There we go. I want to have all of my stuff wasting everywhere, but yeah, it's just more or less like the soil is already ready. This is just a topping and inoculation almost of sorts. This is pretty much going to go into the soil. The leaves from last year, the worms. It's gonna be a nice little treat for the flowers and the plants. And I also know that it's very good for, I'll just put these corianders in here, give them a quick little inoculation of some also. And these are for my home herb coriander box. I sowed this about a month ago, and the best thing about it is that it's gonna get mowed down. They were just wild sown, and then I spent a good time of the day, probably about an hour and a half, 2 hours, of just evenly spacing them. And I've had them densely sowed, and the results were not very good. And now I went ahead and gave them about 2 finger space distance between them. Not exactly, but roughly a finger or 2 at least, you know. No more than 3 is necessary. And that will grow beautifully and cut great even harvests. I'll probably get about two harvests out of that. So definitely do make you bowls and definitely prepare for them properly. But this is not really a, full detail video. This is just me watering and showing you that it doesn't really take much to get the steps ready to go ahead and prep. This is again a lactobacilli, molasses, and Epsom salt mix. Typically, you can also go with lactobacilli and just molasses. The molasses kind of feeds and also acts as a service for the iron and other type of trace minerals, macro and micro. Again, just broadcasting this evenly. See? And again, I was saying it. The flowers are in pre-bloom stage, so they're not going to be affecting the flower. If the flowers all look like this, excuse me, the flowers all look like this, I would definitely not want to do that yet. You kind of would be a little bit too late. You would want to just wait till after harvest, but if you could get a head start on this and the strawberries, it'd be very good. So I'm just gonna finish up here. I'm gonna try to keep my videos to like 10-15 minutes, so that way the family gets a good understanding, a good visual representation, and fill it up. Again, the recipe I will put in the bottom, but some people go 2/3 to a cup of milk per gallon. I like, it depends. If I had buttermilk, I would go 2/3. If I had whole milk, I would go with like a cup. But if you're doing like a 5 gallon and you do 4 cups, you're pretty fine still. But I like it just so that way it's a nice ratio of bacteria. It's a nice ratio of calcium and vitamins. Also, look at this. Look at this. This is amazing. This right here is the Canadian nightcrawler, the longest worm in the worm kingdom. And I'm here up in zone 7-8, and this is the native worm here, and I will be getting that worm. He's gonna spring up and he's gonna start running wild on me. He's gonna try to hunker down. He's a big worm, but this worm does amazing results. The slime that comes on the worm is a probiotic for your soil. This is what makes you have organic, living, healthy soil. And this worm literally is gonna go into my huge second year 32-gallon worm bin. All of those probiotics literally on my hand. That's literally what that is. So I'm gonna put that back in the earth. I've been out here all day, so I'd say he's up and running like a little wild thing. So typically I will put it right under my heavy thing there, because that's what they like. That's weird, but they kind of like the massive pressure kind of. They kind of like that. Don't ask me why, but they kind of like the pressure. So that's what he would do. And they usually eat this peat moss and compost, and then they'll poop it out and turn it into worm castings. But this is my set. It has a lot of roots in it anyway, so it's got a nice structure. The worms will be in there everywhere. I have native soil, which is already really well. I'm not sure it drains the best, but a little bit of amendments can definitely fix that. But it's naturally native, very dark and very good to grow. And I got some pole beans, scarlet runner poles, right here at the door. This is kind of the setup. These thymes will go into another bin. Rosemary's have to also go into one. This is a flower bin. And there was a crow just coming over here, grabbing a couple popcorn from the girls playing earlier. And this is a sunflower bin that is going to grow dwarf-sized sunflowers. And yeah, I got some other things on the trays. I will be going my zucchinis. It's been the first night where I don't think I'll have a frost again. Zucchinis, squash, buttercups, butternuts. And again, this is the other area over here. Like I said, I was gonna make it 15 minutes, and here we are as I'm wrapping up. But this is the other area over here. I took some native soil from over here that drains very well. It's kind of sandy, but still had a nice compostable feature to it. See, it's kind of sandy, but still very good. Strawberry roots, literally love those. They love that moisture, but that quick drain ability. So they look all rough because they were everywhere. They were just scattered randomly throughout the garden. I sowed the peppermint last year. Just a little branch, and now this year after they've winterized, they've gone on. I know they were gonna go crazy. That's why I let it go here. There was a tree here that was just recently cut, but there's some more growing because life will continue to go. The tulips are closing now because it's a little cold, but they were open earlier and they look magnificent. And so, oh yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know if this was a weed or a flower. Could be, either one. I'll be able to grab it if it is a weed. It's up front. But there's some lemon balm. That was definitely hungry also for a little iron, so she'll probably get a little splash of something. But I'll go ahead and harvest her down a little bit. But this is lemon balm, a herb family. Smells amazing. Smells very lemony, like I'm not sure if you've ever had like it was a light lemon, but very nice and pungent. But this is my peppermint, growing everywhere, which I love. The real peppermint, not like spearmint or anything, but the it smells so good. It smells absolutely amazing. Perfect time to harvest mint or any type of herbs is on cool evenings. In the morning, it's best to water them, but if you really want to pack that flavor, let the evening get nice and cool. Preferably in the lower evening time, so very, very early in the morning before the sun comes out, and you'll have a beautiful herb. Hang dry it, and it's amazing. Or if you want to eat it fresh, whatever your choice is. This is my watering style. A lot of my older videos have it. I have it on a very misty mode, so it's very much a mist. Nothing crazy coming out. It's not too fast. Anything faster than this will have too much runoff. The absorption rate won't be good. So I'll leave this mist on for like an hour or two, and then literally just sit in the soil. I keep misting. What eventually happens is it goes throughout the whole area. These are everbearings. You can see that they're different type of strawberry at the top. These are the ones that was found on my garden wall. And you can see and notice as they keep growing, these will probably just be falling to the floor. New ones will come up, and just hitting like any food that I would have gotten out of here, because I did sow it with some Gaia Green. But again, Gaia Green is good. Again, broadcast it very lightly and evenly. I used a ice hand salting, and that literally was perfect enough to go ahead and actually use in the area. The everbearings have some flowers over there, so I will hit it with a little lactobacilli, but the water now is hitting at the root level and it's going down. Once I start seeing the runoff come down over here, then I know it's kind of already watered very well. These type of weeds I definitely always come and get. And I get the weeds out the old way. Some people might like it a different way, but I take them out the old way. Shake them up a little bit. Sometimes I drop them right here in the curb, and then at the end of the week, or it's time to do it, I will put them in the bucket or in that bag. But this right here is going to be a trellis. I'm going to use for some sweet peas. And I'm going to run it from this one end all the way down. This is going to be a flower area, so other flowers will come blooming up out of here. A lot of the Jerusalem artichoke or Mexican sunflower is going to come here. New rose. But look, I said this was just going to be a lactobacilli. And next thing you know, I'm walking around and the raspberries are going to be insane this year. Last year was cane, and this time is actually fruit. So with any type of like Rosaceae, I believe, family, or Rosaceae family, like a rose. So you'll get a cane, and then once the cane is done, then you'll get a flower, and it goes like that. So in 1 year, they'll have a crop. So middle of the year, I had cane, and then later this year, Later last year I had flower, but the season was pretty much over. But right now we're getting a lot of flowers, so there'll be a lot of raspberries. The raspberries are very delicious, very also good for you. Go great in your salads. I haven't started sowing salads yet, just to the simple fact that I'm still waiting to grab a little bit more compost, topsoil, different things around the garden. But to be honest, today was the first day where the weather was good. Outside of that, the weather was not very good. It was cold, and I just wanted a lot of stuff to dry out for the season to kind of change. So now we're here, but this is an update. I'm gonna get back to feeding, and you guys stay Irish, stay growing, stay blessed, and I'll holla at you.